an announcement on their case? All right, if not, then do we have any pleas? Anyone?
Before that, Mr. Almanza, remember we had this set up for May the 3rd, because his client needed additional time, it's number 24.
Okay, number 24, Mr. Almanza, you have number 24.
Yes, Your Honor, my client was able to get the device today. I already sent the receipt, so we're able to proceed on the plea today.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Ms. Arispe, who do you have?
Judge, I have Antonio Navarro Martinez. He's got 2 cases. He's pleading to, I believe it's 15 and 16 on the court's docket.
Okay, Antonio, and he'll be pleading to both of them, Ms. Arispe?
Yes, and there are pleas of true.
Okay, so those both motions to revoke. All right, if I can have Mr. Martinez, do you speak English?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. Mr. Martinez, in just a minute, I'm going to be calling out your case, and I'm going to be calling out a few others. Because your cases are motions to revoke, not all the questions will apply to you. So if I don't ask you to answer, it is for that reason and that reason alone. The question does not apply to you. It doesn't mean that I'm ignoring you or skipping you. It just means that the question doesn't apply to you, okay?
Okay, Your Honor.
All right, hang tight. I'll be right with you so that we can call your case. All right, Mr. Gonzalez, who do you have?
Good morning, Your Honor. Or good afternoon, sorry, Judge. I have number 26 on the court's criminal docket.
All right, number 26, Henry Rodriguez.
And he's logged on.
Henry Rodriguez.
Henry.
It's Henry. Henry Rodriguez, if you're on mute, please unmute yourself. I think we may be having some difficulty with his audio. Is he the one with the bandana and the hat?
I think so, Judge. I can call him real quick, Judge, but we're ready.
Okay. All right, Hector, who do you have?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I have numbers 21 through 23 on your docket. Mr. Guadalupe Lozano, we are ready for 2 pleas and a dismissal.
Perfect. Is Guadalupe Lozano present? Guadalupe Lozano, if you're on mute.
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. Mr. Lozano, be ready to mute and unmute yourself as soon as your case is called. Okay, I'll be calling you here shortly.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Richard, did I get an announcement from you? I'm sorry. Number 1 and 2?
Judge, I have number 1 and 2 set for a plea this afternoon.
Okay, and that's going to be 1 plea on a motion to revoke, and 1 of them is going to be dismissed as part of the plea. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
All right. And we have, and that is Hillary Aguilar. If I can have Hillary, just a couple of announcements for Hillary. All right. Ms. Aguilar, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Aguilar, you're going to be the very first person to answer all of my questions. However, not all questions will apply to you. And that is because you're here on a motion to revoke. So not all the questions will directly apply to you. If I don't ask you to respond, please know that I'm not ignoring you or skipping you intentionally. It is because the questions don't apply to you, okay? So just hang tight and answer the question if your name is called out, okay? All right, do we have anyone here who is the certified sign language interpreter? We have a certified sign language interpreter that is logged on. We need you to identify yourself if you're here. All right. Anyone else besides that one plea that's for the deaf defendant that I have here? Anyone else name I didn't call? Mr. Barbosa, I didn't call your name or identify you. Do you have a plea?
I do, Your Honor, number 28. I'm just waiting for my client to get on, Judge. All the paperwork should be in. I'm gonna send her a message right now.
Please. Yes, Julieta Seba, correct?
Let me send her a message, Judge.
Okay. And I have Jacob Sosa with Miss Evans.
We have the paperwork.
Ms. Evans should be logging on.
All right, well, let's wait and have Miss Evans log on. Give her a couple minutes. Jacob, who do you have?
I have Ivan Espinosa, and I believe he's ready for a plea this afternoon.
All right, Ivan Espinosa, he's in custody. Ivan, do you speak English?
Sorry, Judge. No, he needs the services of an interpreter, Judge. He speaks Spanish.
Yes, no. Let me get him on, okay?
Tracy, you have a plea as well, correct?
Yes, Judge, I do.
Okay, and let me see if I can find your client.
He's number 29, Judge.
All right, that's Jacob Sosa, correct?
Yes, Judge, and he has
All right.
signed in.
Perfect. Jacob, can you hear me? Okay, Jacob, I just want to test your microphone to make sure that I can hear you. Can you speak up?
Yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Great, thank you. Jacob, just hang tight. In just a minute, you will be answering my questions. Now, Jacob, you're going to be the last one to answer all my questions, so just listen carefully so that you can understand the question, and then you'll be the last one to answer all my questions, okay?
Okay, sir.
Perfect. Okay, so I think I'm only waiting on one more, that is Mr. Barbosa's client, Julieta Seba. Why don't I do this? Mr. Barbosa, are you still there?
Yes, Your Honor.
I
She's,
think,
go ahead, Judge, sorry.
okay, no, go ahead. I have somebody else logging on. If your client is not ready to log on, I can do one of two things. She is not a jail case.
Martin Vasquez.
Okay, I can have her reset to another day, or I have to put an official sign language interpreter, and I may have a plea that will have to be done separately as part of a sign language plea. I can maybe do that one as well with you. So I don't know if you want to give her some time, or if
Yes,
you'd like
Judge.
to just reset.
If we could just get a little bit of time, she's trying to log on right now, Your Honor. She was having some technical difficulties. I apologize, Your Honor.
Okay, so
I can be on
let's
standby.
be on standby. I'll probably take you up with the announcement on the deaf mute case. Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Vasquez, I'm going to put you in a breakout room with our, I guess, our in-house computer that has the defendant and his attorney present so that you can assist.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Please accept the invitation. It's an invitation into breakout room, and when you all are done, just return back here and we'll take care of whatever announcement y'all have. All right, that being the case, let's go ahead and call up the rest of the pleas. We're ready to go. We're going to start off with Hillary Aguilar, followed by Ivan Espinosa, and then Antonio Navarro Martinez Jr., followed by Jose Guadalupe Lozano. Guadalupe Jose Lozano, I apologize. Guadalupe Jose Lozano. And then Jessica Marie Maldonado. Then Henry Rodriguez. Henry Rodriguez. And then I think I just got Ms. Seba to log on. Let me see if I can get her to turn on her.
Yes, Judge, she should be on right now, Judge. I
Yeah.
apologize.
All right, Ms. Seba, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Be ready to answer the question. You'll be the next one to answer all my questions here. So just hang tight, put yourself on mute, and then we'll be right with you, okay?
Judge, did you call Arnulfo Rios?
I'm sorry?
Rodolfo Rios, number 18, but Mr. Quintana's not on.
Yes, Mr. Quintana is not on.
Okay.
Can, this was gonna be a time served. Can I have anyone stand in, maybe Miss Arispe, do you mind? Oh, Mr. Quintana is logging on. So if I can have Mr. Arnulfo Rios called up as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, Your Honor.
Then finally, I have Jacob Alexander Sosa. Mr. Quintana, I just called your client. My understanding is this is going to be a time served recommendation for Arnulfo Rios. He is in jail. Mr. Rios, can you please raise your hand if you can hear me?
Yes,
There
Your
he
Honor.
is. All right, there he is, Mr. Quintana.
Yes, sir. I see it.
Perfect. All right, can I have all of you whose name I called, please raise your right hand?
Hold on to my derecha.
Do each of you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I'm going to start with Hillary Aguilar.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Followed by Ivan Espinosa.
Mónica, esta mañana, esta tarde va a ser la verdad y solamente la verdad. Ivan Espinosa.
Yes, Señor.
Yes, sir.
Antonio Navarro Martinez Jr.
Yes, Your Honor.
Arnulfo Rios.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Jose Guadalupe Lozano.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Jessica Marie Maldonado. Can you unmute yourself and then so I can hear your response?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Henry Rodriguez.
I'm trying to answer, wait.
Henry
Yes, sir.
Rodriguez. Where are you, Henry? Are we able to get Henry Rodriguez on?
Judge, he is. Henry, can you answer the judge?
Yes, sir. This is Henry Rodriguez.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, if you could just leave your microphone on, I'm hearing him through your phone.
Perfect, sir.
Okay. Mr. Rodriguez, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. How about Julieta Seba?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And finally, Jacob Alexander Sosa.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All of you may lower your hands. We are here in CR 18-15-465H, State of Texas versus Hillary Aguilar. Ma'am, is that your true and correct name? Ms. Aguilar?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Aguilar, you're here on a motion to revoke. The state is alleging that you violated certain conditions of your probation. Are you that same individual?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you had enough time to review that motion to revoke and the allegations against you with your attorney, Mr. Richard Gonzalez?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you prepared to go forward here today?
Yes.
Thank you. We're also here in CR 18-13-362H, State of Texas versus Ivan Espinosa. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Ivan Espinosa, ¿su nombre correcto y verdadero?
Hey.
Yes.
Mr. Espinosa, you're here before the court charged with the offense of assault causing bodily injury. That is a Class A misdemeanor. I need to advise you that a Class A misdemeanor carries a potential penalty of up to 1 year in the Hidalgo County Jail and up to a $4,000 fine upon conviction. Do you understand the range of punishment you could receive for a Class A misdemeanor?
Señor Espinosa, usted se encuentra ante la corte porque eres acusado de una ofensa de agresión que se considera un delito menor clase A. Tengo que avisarte que con esta ofensa lo máximo de castigo que para recibir es hasta 1 año de cárcel del condado, una multa de $4,000 o las dos cosas ha sido encontrado culpable. ¿Sí entiendes lo máximo de castigo que para recibir?
Sí.
Yes.
Thank you. In CR 20-08-267H, as well as CR 20-02-825H, State of Texas versus Antonio Navarro Martinez Jr. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Martinez, you are also here on motions to revoke. You have a possession of marijuana, Class B, motion to revoke, and assault causing bodily injury, Class A, motion to revoke. In both of these cases, the state is alleging that you violated certain conditions of your probation. Are you that same individual, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you had enough time to review the motion to revoke with your attorney, Ms. Arispe?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you ready to proceed here today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'll be right with you. In CR 22-02-219H, State of Texas versus Arnulfo Rios. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Mr. Rios, you're here before the court charged with the offense of public intoxication with 3 prior convictions. That is a Class B misdemeanor. In just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor. In CR 21-11-939H, State of Texas versus Guadalupe Jose Lozano. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lozano, you're also here in CR 21-11-940H, charged with the offense of duty on striking an unattended vehicle, a Class B misdemeanor, and duty on striking a highway fixture or landscape, also a Class B misdemeanor. And in just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor.
Yes, Your Honor.
In CR 21-04-887H, State of Texas versus Jessica Marie Maldonado. Ma'am, is that your true and correct name?
Yes.
Ms. Maldonado, you're here before the court charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. In just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment. In CR 21-05-305H, State of Texas versus Henry Rodriguez. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Henry.
Yes.
Is Henry Rodriguez your true and correct name?
You need to say it louder.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, you're here before the court charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. And in just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor. In CR 17-12-662H, State of Texas versus Julieta Noemi Seba. Ma'am, is that your true and correct name?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Seba, you're here before the court charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. And in just a minute, I'll explain to you the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor. In CR 21-00-517H, State of Texas versus Jacob Alexander Sosa. Sir, is that your true and correct name?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Sosa, you're here before the court charged with the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. I need to advise all of you that are here before the court that Class B misdemeanors carry a potential penalty of up to 6 months in the Hidalgo County Jail and up to a $2,000 fine upon conviction. Do all of you understand the range of punishment you could receive for a Class B misdemeanor? And I'm going to start with Mr. Antonio Navarro Martinez Jr. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Martinez, you're also here. Actually, no, I apologize. You're here on a motion to revoke. So disregard. I'll start with Mr. Arnulfo Rios. Do you understand the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Mr. Guadalupe Jose Lozano.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Jessica Marie Maldonado.
Yes, sir.
Henry Rodriguez.
Henry.
Henry, do you understand the range of punishment for a Class B misdemeanor?
Yes, sir.
All right. Julieta Seba
Yes, sir.
and Jacob Alexander Sosa. Jacob Alexander Sosa.
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All of you, well, some of you have the right to an attorney and the right to a trial by jury. If you can waive one or both of those rights by signing a document with this court. Did each of you have an opportunity to review a document with your attorney And I'll start with Hillary Aguilar. Hillary,
Yes, Your Honor.
thank you. Ivan Espinosa,
Irvin Espinosa, entiende que usted tiene el derecho de tener un abogado presente con usted, el derecho de presentar su caso ante un jurado. Puede renunciar uno o los dos derechos firmando ciertos documentos. Tuvo la oportunidad de revisar esos documentos con su abogado antes de que los firmaras.
Sí.
Yes.
how about Antonio Martinez Jr.?
Yes, Your Honor.
Arnulfo Rios,
Yes, Your Honor.
is that a yes, sir?
Mr. Cagle, I'm sorry. I was
You have a right to have an attorney present, but you can waive one or both of those rights. Do you understand that in signing the document that you signed with your attorney, that you were waiving your right to a trial by jury?
Yes, Your Honor, I should do.
Mr. Guadalupe Jose Lozano,
Yes, Your Honor.
Jessica Marie Maldonado,
Yes, sir.
Henry Rodriguez,
Yes, sir.
Julieta Seba,
Yes, sir.
Jacob Alexander Sosa.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you each understand that when you signed those documents, you were waiving your right to a trial by jury? Did you understand that you were waiving your right to a trial by jury, Mr. Ivan Espinosa?
Señor Espinosa, ¿entendiste que cuando firmaste esos documentos estaba renunciando a su derecho de presentar tu caso ante un jurado? ¿Sí entendiste?
¿Cómo no te oí?
Cuando firmó los documentos con su abogado, entiende que estaba renunciando a su derecho de presentar su caso ante un jurado. ¿Sí entendió?
Sí.
Yes.
How about you, Mr. Arnulfo Rios? Did you understand you were waiving your right to a trial by jury?
Yes, Your Honor, I should.
Jose Guadalupe Lozano,
Yes, Your Honor.
Jessica Marie Maldonado,
Yes, Your Honor.
Henry Rodriguez. Henry Rodriguez, Mr. Gonzalez, if you can unmute yourself.
Answer, Henry.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Julieta Seba
Yes, sir.
and Jacob Alexander Sosa.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court's going to go ahead and accept your waiver of trial by jury. Has any court ever declared any of you to be mentally incompetent, crazy, or insane? Ms. Aguilar,
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Ivan Espinosa,
Irvin Espinosa, ¿alguna corte alguna vez te ha declarado mentalmente incompetente o que diga que está loco?
No.
No.
Antonio Navarro Martinez Jr.,
No, Your Honor.
Arnulfo Rios,
No, Your Honor.
Jose Guadalupe Lozano, Jose Guadalupe Lozano,
No, Your Honor.
thank you. Jessica Marie Maldonado,
Yes, Your Honor.
a court has declared you to be mentally incompetent.
I know.
crazy.
Sorry.
Okay. Henry Rodriguez.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Rodriguez, has a court ever declared you to be mentally incompetent, crazy, or insane?
No, sir.
Thank you. Julieta Seba
No, sir.
and Jacob Alexander Sosa.
No, Your Honor.
Counsel, and speaking with your clients, do you find them to be mentally competent, able to assist? I'll start with Mr. Gonzalez.
I do, Your Honor.
Mr. Salinas for Mr. Ivan Espinosa.
I do.
Ms. Arispe for your client, Mr. Martinez.
Mr. Martinez is competent, Your Honor.
Mr. Quintana for your client, Mr. Rios. You're on mute, Mr. Quintana.
Same announcement, Your Honor, he's competent.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez for your client, Mr. Lozano.
Same announcement, Your Honor.
Mr. Almanza for Ms. Maldonado.
Maldonado is competent, Your Honor.
Mr. Gonzalez for Mr. Rodriguez.
He is competent, Your Honor.
Mr. Barbosa for Ms. Seba.
He's competent, Your Honor.
And Ms. Evans for Mr. Sosa.
Yes, Your Honor, he is competent.
Court's going to go ahead and make a finding that all the defendants before the court, they're all mentally competent. They're all able to assist their attorneys in their own defense. Do you each understand that if the punishment that I assess, if that punishment does not exceed what is recommended by the state, you will need this court's permission if you decide to file an appeal? Do you understand that, Ms. Aguilar?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Ivan Espinosa.
Señor Espinosa, entiende si el castigo que le doy, si no sobrepasa lo que está recomendando el fiscal, si usted decide apelar este caso, necesitas permiso de esta corte primero. ¿Sí entiendes?
¿Permiso para qué?
Si quieres apelar el caso, la decisión.
Sí. Sí.
Yes.
How about Mr. Antonio Martinez Jr.?
Yes, Your Honor.
Arnulfo Rios,
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Guadalupe Jose Lozano,
Your Honor.
Jessica Marie Maldonado,
Yes, Your Honor.
Henry Rodriguez.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Julieta Seba
Yes, sir.
and Jacob Sosa.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do each of you understand that the court does not have to accept any recommendation that you, your attorney, may have reached? Do you understand that, Ms. Aguilar? Ms. Aguilar?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Ivan Espinosa.
Señor Espinosa, entiende que la corte no tiene que aceptar ninguna recomendación o acuerdo que haya llegado usted y su abogado con el fiscal. ¿Entiendes? ¿Sí o no?
Yes.
Yes.
How about Antonio Martinez Jr.?
Yes, Your Honor.
Arnulfo Rios,
Yes, Your Honor.
Guadalupe Jose Lozano,
Yes, Your Honor.
Jessica Marie Maldonado,
Yes, Your Honor.
Henry Rodriguez,
Yes, Your Honor.
Julieta Seba,
Yes, sir.
and Jacob Sosa.
Yes, Your Honor.
Court's going to go ahead and ask each of you, are you U.S. citizens? I'll start with Hillary Aguilar.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ivan Espinosa,
Iván Espinosa, ¿eres ciudadano americano?
No.
No.
Mr. Antonio Martinez Jr.,
Yes, Your Honor.
Arnulfo Rios,
Yes, Your Honor.
Guadalupe Jose Lozano,
Yes, Your Honor.
Jessica Marie Maldonado,
Yes, Your Honor.
Henry Rodriguez,
Yes, sir.
Julieta Seba,
Yes, sir.
and Jacob Alexander Sosa.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Ivan Espinosa, because you're not a U.S. citizen, your plea of guilty or no contest may result in your deportation, exclusion from admission to this country, or the denial of naturalization under U.S. federal law. Do you understand those immigration consequences, Mr. Espinosa?
Señor Espinosa, entiende que por la razón que no es un americano, al declararse culpable, no lo contendré, pudiera resultar en su deportación, negar la entrada para este país o le pudiera afectar la aplicación para su ciudadanía. ¿Sí entiende las consecuencias que pudiera pasar?
Sí.
Yes.
Knowing and understanding those immigration consequences, Mr. Espinosa, do you still wish to go forward with your plea here today?
Sabiendo estas consecuencias que pudiera pasar con la inmigración, ¿sigue siendo su deseo de proceder con su caso aquí hoy?
Sí.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Aguilar, in your motion to revoke, the state is alleging that you violated certain conditions of your probation. Did you have an opportunity to review those allegations with your attorney, Mr. Gonzalez, before signing them?
Yes, Your Honor.
And either Ms. Aguilar or Mr. Gonzalez, either do request or asking that the state read those allegations aloud, or do I hear a waiver? And Mr. Gonzalez, you may answer on your client's behalf.
We waive the reading of the allegations.
All right, Ms. Aguilar, to violating the conditions set forth in that motion to revoke, how do you plead? True or not true that you violated those conditions?
True.
And are you pleading true freely and voluntarily, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Ivan Espinosa, to the offense of assault causing bodily injury, a Class A misdemeanor. How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
Señor Irvin Espinosa, a la ofensa de agresión, un delito menor clase A, ¿usted cómo se declara esta ofensa? ¿Culpable o no culpable?
No lo hice, no sé ni a quién golpeé. Fue en el 2018.
I didn't do it. I didn't even know who I injured. This happened in 2018.
Okay, so you're not aware of the reason why you're here, Mr. Espinosa?
So, ¿usted no sabe la razón por qué está aquí hoy, señor Espinosa?
Sí, por un asalto que golpeé según alguien, pero no sé ni a quién. No conozco a esa persona.
Yes, for an assault charge that supposedly I beat up somebody, but I don't know who. I don't know that person.
Okay, well, it's not really that important that you know them or don't know them. The question is whether or not you're willing to plead guilty to assaulting them. That's the issue here today.
Ok, no es la razón si conozca o no conozca a esa persona. La cosa es si usted usó agresión contra alguien y si yo declara culpable aquí hoy.
If not, I can set this case up for a trial, Mr. Espinosa.
Si no, pues presentamos este caso ante un jurado, señor Espinosa.
No, sí soy culpable entonces.
No, then yes, I am guilty.
All right. You understand what you're doing here today?
Si entiende lo que está haciendo aquí hoy.
No, la verdad no.
No, really no.
Okay. Mr. Salinas, I'm going to hold him off and then have him visit with you in a breakout room once we're done here, okay? Okay, Mr. Espinosa, hang tight, sit down. I will be right with you.
Señor Espinosa, tome asiento, ahorita le llamamos de nuevo.
All right, Mr. Antonio Navarro Martinez Jr., the state is alleging in both of your motions to revoke that you violated certain conditions of your probation. Have you had an opportunity to review those motions to revoke with your attorney, Ms. Arispe?
Yes, Your Honor.
And either Ms. Arispe or Mr. Martinez, both of you can answer this question, but are you asking that the state read those allegations of the motion to revoke the violations aloud, or do I hear a waiver?
Judge, reference to both cases, Mr. Navarro Martinez waives the reading of the allegations, Judge. He'll be pleading true to all the violations except for violation number 1.
All right, to all except violation number 1, Mr. Martinez, how do you plead? All except 1, true or not true?
True, Your Honor.
And are you pleading true to all except 1 freely and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. In CR 22022198H, State of Texas versus Arnulfo Rios, to the offense of public intoxication with 3 prior convictions, how do you plead, sir? Guilty or not guilty? Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
In CR 2111-939H, as well as CR 2111-940H, State of Texas versus Guadalupe Jose Lozano, to the offense of duty on striking an unattended vehicle, sir, a Class B misdemeanor, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
To the offense of duty on striking a fixture or highway landscape, Class B misdemeanor, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty to both of these offenses freely and voluntarily, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Jessica Marie Maldonado, to the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Mr. Henry Rodriguez, to the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Julieta Noemi Seba, to the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty? Ms. Seba? How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Jacob Sosa, the offense of driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty? Jacob Sosa? Guilty? Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Sosa, can you repeat your response? Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Court's going to go ahead and accept all pleas of guilty and pleas of true as being freely and voluntarily given. I'll call for state's evidence.
State offers plea documents and offense reports, State's Exhibit 1, notification and certification of defendant's right of appeal, State's Exhibit 2, waiver of Article 39.14, waiver of risk and needs assessment, State 4. State would also request defense counsel stipulate the venue and jurisdiction of this honorable court, and they further stipulate that all evidence that has been e-filed is sufficient to corroborate the plea of guilty.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez, I'll start with you.
No objection, Judge, so stipulated.
All right, thank you. Ms. Arispe?
Judge, no objections, your agreed and stipulated.
All right, Mr. Quintana?
No objection and so stipulated.
Mr. Hector Hernandez?
Same announcement, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Jonathan Almanza?
So stipulated, Your Honor, no objections.
Mr. Noel Gonzalez,
No objections and so stipulated, Your Honor.
Mr. Albert Barbosa. Albert, can you hear me? Albert, any objections to state's exhibits? You're on mute. I'm gonna assume that there, Albert, Mr. Barbosa has no objections. Not sure if you can hear me. Ms. Evans,
Objection, Your Honor. So agreeing stipulated.
perfect. All right, there be no objections. State's exhibits are all hereby admitted in CR 1815-6, I'm sorry, CR 1815-465-8, State of Texas versus Hillary Aguilar. It is a judgment of the court that you're guilty. No, I'm sorry, it's a judgment of the court that you violated the conditions of your probation. Your probation is hereby revoked, set aside. What is the recommendation in this case?
Recommendation is a $100 fine. Court costs 35 days. Hidalgo County Jail credit for 35 days.
In this case, it'll be a zero fine, zero court cost, 35 days credit for 35 days time served. Good luck to you, Mrs. Aguilar.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez, you're excused unless you have other business. The other case is dismissed as part of the.
I have no further business, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. In CR 20-08267H, as well as CR 20-02825H, State of Texas versus Antonio Navarro Martinez Jr., it is a judgment and finding of the court that Mr. Martinez is guilty, has violated the conditions of his probation. His probation is hereby revoked, set aside. What is the recommendation on both of these motions to revoke?
Recommendation is a $100 fine. Court costs 136 days. Hidalgo County Jail credit for the 136 days.
And that's the same recommendation on both?
Yes, sir.
In both of these cases, it'll be a zero fine, a zero court cost, 136 days, credit for 136 days time served.
Judge, and they're to run concurrent, Judge. And just for the record, CR 1581-21A will be dismissed, Judge. If Mr. Heller can advise Mr. Almaguer that the plea did go through today, Judge, so they can do their dismissal today, Judge.
Okay, perfect. Mr.
Thank
Heller,
you, Judge.
let the state know.
That's correct, Judge.
All right, so this will be a time served. Good luck to you, Mr. Martinez.
May I be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, you're excused. In CR 22-02-219H, it is the judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation?
Which defendant is that, Judge?
Arnulfo Rios.
So this is going to be a time served, $100 fine, court cost, and
27 days, credit for 27 days?
that's correct, Judge.
All right, in this case, it'll be a zero fine, zero court cost, 27 days, credit for 27 days time served. Good luck to you. CR 21-11-939H, as well as CR 21-11-940H, State of Texas versus Guadalupe, Jose Lozano. It is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation in both of these cases?
Judge, on CR 21-11-939H, the recommendation is a $100 fine, court cost, 180 days, probated for 1 year, defensive driving. He is to, in lieu of community service, he's to obtain a GED and restitution in the amount of $5,353.
All right, and in the other case?
A $100 fine, court cost, 180 for probated for 1, defensive driving, GED, and restitution in the amount of $180.
All right, Hector, on behalf of your client, any questions or requests?
Yes, Your Honor. We just asked for one court cost if possible and one community supervision.
All right, both cases will run concurrent with each other. I will waive one court cost. I'm going to waive it on the CR 21-11-939H. So that'll be waived. There'll be one supervisory fee because both of these cases will run concurrent. We do need a phone number from him.
Mr. Lozano, if you can provide your phone number, please.
956-603-0782.
Thank you. Our probation intake department will contact you in about 5 business days.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Lozano, but you're excused as well as Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, in CR 21-04-887H, State of Texas versus Jessica Marie Maldonado, It is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation?
The recommendation is a $250 fine, court costs, 1 year deferred adjudication, mobile alcohol monitoring for 6 months, alcohol classes, 90-day driver license suspension, and 20 community service hours.
How many Texas driver's license suspension? How long?
90.
90 days. Questions
Honor,
or
we had-
requests, Mr. Almanza?
Yes, Your Honor, my client's a single mom, Your Honor. It was hard enough for her to afford the device. We're asking for some consideration on court costs, in addition that the driver's license suspension run concurrently with the administrative suspension.
Is this a case where we had any violations, Victoria?
I would need to check, Judge. I'm sorry, I did not have her report.
She just got the device today, Your Honor. It wasn't a bond condition for her to have the device. She got the device just for the deferred adjudication
Oh, I
program.
got you. Okay, perfect. Okay, so then let me go ahead and waive her CSR. I'm going to run the 90-day Texas driver's license suspension concurrent with the administrative suspension. I'll give her 90 days to pay the fine, 90 days to pay the court costs. The rest of the recommendation I will follow. We do need a phone number from her.
956-226-8588.
Thank you. Our intake department will call you in about 5 business days.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Almanza, Ms. Maldonado, both of y'all are excused then.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. In CR 21-05-305H, State of Texas versus Henry Rodriguez, it is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation?
The recommendation is a $250 fine, court costs, 180 days Hidalgo County Jail, probated for 1 year, alcohol classes, 6 months mobile monitoring, 20 community service hours, and 90-day suspension.
Questions or requests, Mr. Gonzalez?
Your Honor, we'd ask that the 90-day Texas driver's license suspension run concurrent with any suspension DPS Austin may have already instituted.
How many CSR hours was awarded here? 20?
20, Judge.
Is your client gainfully employed, Mr. Gonzalez?
He is, Judge. He is an electrician assistant.
All right, court will go ahead and waive the CSR since he is gainfully employed. I'm going to run the 90-day Texas driver's license suspension concurrent with the administrative suspension. I'll give him 90 days in which to pay the fine and the court costs. The rest of the recommendation I will follow. We do need a phone number, Mr. Gonzalez or Mr. Rodriguez, if you all can provide Ms. Rodriguez with the phone number.
956-463-1851.
Thank you. Our intake department will contact them in about 5 business days.
He's aware of that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, in CR 17-12-662H, Julieta Noemi Seva, it is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation?
The recommendation is a $250 fine, court costs, 180 days to Hidalgo County Jail, probated for 6 months, 3 months mobile alcohol monitoring, alcohol classes, 90-day driver license suspension, and 20 community service hours.
Questions or requests, Mr. Barbosa?
Yes, Your Honor. The only one we would ask for is if the court would consider the 90 days to run concurrent with our administrative suspension, and any consideration on the mobile alcohol device, Your Honor. This is a class B. This is her first DWI. She is no incident since after consideration on to pay the fine in court cost, Judge.
Okay, I didn't hear if she was gainfully employed. Or is she Ms. Soba, maybe you can answer this question.
She is, Your Honor.
You are working. Okay,
She works at a pharmacy, Judge. She is a single mom as well.
okay, perfect. Then let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and give her 90 days in which to pay the fine and court costs. Ms. Seva, that would have otherwise been due today, then the court costs, but I'll give you 90 days in which to pay that. I'm going to waive the mobile alcohol monitoring system since this is first DWI. I'm going to waive that. I'm also going to go ahead and run concurrent the 90-day Texas driver license suspension concurrent with the administrative suspension, and I've waived the CSR hours. The rest of the recommendation I will follow. We do need a phone number from you.
It's 956-40-7711.
I'm sorry, 956.
240-7711.
Thank you. Our intake department will call you in about 5 business days.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Thank
Mr.
you, Judge.
Barbosa, Ms. Eva, both of y'all are excused.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, in CR 21-00517H, Jacob Alexander Sosa. It is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation?
The recommendation is a $500 fine, court costs, 1 year deferred adjudication, 6 months mobile monitoring, alcohol classes, 90-day license suspension, 40 community service hours, and MAD impact panel.
All right, questions or requests on behalf of your client, Ms. Evans?
Yes, Judge. My client is actually on probation on a felony offense that was pending prior to this case. Oh, wait, he was placed on probation. This case is pending when he's placed on probation for the felony. I'm sorry, I may have said that wrong, Judge. He is on the useful offender program. He's been on the useful offender program for the felony since March 30th of last year. So he's almost been on it for a full year, Judge. So he's doing very well on that, Judge. We were just asking for consideration on the fine and the court costs, Judge, based on the fact that he is doing so well in the other program. And this is a deferred, Judge, so he will be having to obtain a device for it. He does not have that device yet, so he will be obtaining that, Judge. And he is also gainfully employed, Judge.
All right, let me waive the CSR hours since he's gainfully employed. I'll reduce the fine down to $100. I'll give him 90 days in which to pay the fine and the court cost. The 90-day Texas driver license suspension will run concurrent with the administrative suspension. And I will go ahead and accept the rest of the recommendation. We do need a phone number from you, Mr. Sosa. Can you provide us with a phone number?
My phone's not connected right now, but I give you my girlfriend's number.
Yes.
It's 956 7219.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear, I only heard the last four, 7219. What was the?
252.
Okay, thank you so much. Our intake department will call you in about 5 business days.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
All right. Now, Sheriff, I'm going to put you and Mr. Salinas in a breakout room so that we can go ahead and take care of that while I take care of the deaf mute case. So let me go ahead and take that. Put you all in a breakout room. So I'm going to go Fox section will be assigned to breakout room 2 along with Jacob Salinas.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Jacob.
Your Honor, this is the interpreter, Martin Vasquez. I will be needing to step out, and Mrs. Carolee Nunn, who's also a court-certified ASL interpreter, will be taking over, Your Honor.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Mr. Salinas, if you can accept the invitation into room 2, please.
May me and Mr. Sosa be excused?
Yes, Ms. Evans, you all are excused.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, so number 8 through 10 is the Jaime Villarreal Cantu. Now, at this time, I believe that what I need to do is need to have the interpreter sworn in. So if I can get your name, ma'am. I know that you are here as an interpreter. Can you please provide me with your name by unmuting yourself?
I guess that would help you hear me. My name is Carol Linan, Linan.
All right, Carol Linan. Now, Ms. Linan, if I can please have you raise your right hand. Do you swear that you will accurately interpret the questions that are propounded onto you in English into sign language, and then at the answers that are propounded to you in sign language back into the English language, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. We are here in CR 22027188H, as well as CR 22027117H and CR 22027116H, State of Texas versus Jaime Villarreal Cantu. Mr. Munoz, are we prepared and are you prepared to go forward at this time?
Yes, Judge, we're ready to go.
All right, and this will be a plea, correct?
Yes, sir.
And are we pleading to all cases before the court? All 3?
No, Judge, one will be a dismissal.
Okay, let's talk about which one's the dismissal.
02718.
Okay, so number 8 is dismissed. Okay, this will be a plea to the court. Is that correct, Alex?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jaime Villarreal Cantu, can I have you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, yes,
Is your true and correct name Jaime Villarreal Cantu?
yes, it is.
Mr. Cantu, you were here before the court charged with the offense of indecent exposure, 2 counts, separate offenses. I need to advise you that that indecent exposure is a Class B misdemeanor, punishable by a fine of up to $2,000, up to 6 months in the Hidalgo County Jail. Do you understand the range of punishment you could receive for both of your offenses?
Yes, I understand that.
You have a right to an attorney and the right to a trial by jury, but you can waive one or both of those rights by signing a document. Did you have an opportunity to review a document such as this with your attorney before you signed one or both of them?
Yes, I did.
Did you understand that when you signed those documents, you were waiving your right to a trial by jury? Did you understand you were waiving your right to a trial by jury?
Yes, that's correct.
Court's going to go ahead and accept your waiver of trial by jury. Has any court ever declared you to be mentally incompetent, crazy, or insane?
No, no,
Counsel, speaking with your client, in communicating through a sign language interpreter and through your communication with him, do you find him to be mentally competent, able to assist?
Yes, Judge, he is mentally competent.
Court's going to go ahead and make a finding that Jaime Villarreal Cantu is mentally competent. Mr. Cantu, do you understand that if the punishment that I assess, if that punishment does not exceed what is recommended by the state, you will need this court's permission if you decide to file an appeal? Do you understand that?
yes, I do.
Do you further understand that the court does not have to accept the recommendation of the state?
Yes,
At this time, I must ask you, are you a U.S. citizen?
in Mexico.
All right. Mr. Cantu,
I
because
was born in, I am a citizen, but I was born in Mexico. I've been a citizen since I was 18 years old.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Cantu. To the offense of indecent exposure, Class B misdemeanor, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
I'm guilty.
As to both counts? There's 2 charges.
Yes,
Thank you. Are you pleading guilty to both offenses freely and voluntarily?
yes,
Thank you. Court's going to go ahead and make a finding that Jaime Villarreal Cantu has entered his pleas of guilty to both cases or both cause numbers freely and voluntarily, and I'll call for state's evidence at this time.
State offers plea documents and offense reports as State's Exhibit 1, notification and certification of defendant's right of appeal as State's Exhibit 2, waiver of Article 39.14 disclosures as State's Exhibit 3, waiver of risk and needs assessment as State's Exhibit 4. State would also request defense counsel stipulate to the venue and jurisdiction of this honorable court, and that they further stipulate that all the evidence which has been e-filed is sufficient to corroborate today's plea of guilty.
No objection, Judge, so stipulated.
There being no objection, state's exhibits are hereby admitted. In CR 22027117H, as well as CR 22027116H, State of Texas versus Jaime Villarreal Cantu, it is a judgment and finding of the court that he is guilty as charged. What is the recommendation? Or this is a plea to the
Recommendation
court?
of the state in both cases is the same. $250 fine, court costs, 180 days Hidalgo County Jail, probated for 2 years, outpatient sex offender program, alcohol classes, 20 community service hours, and that he stay away from the victims in each case and have no harmful contact with the victims in each case, being Ray Vela in 02716 and Daniela Rodriguez in 02717.
Now, my understanding is that this is a plea to the court, correct, Mr. Munoz?
Correct, Judge.
All right, I'll hear from you.
Judge, in this case, we're asking for time served. I believe he's been in the county jail for around 15 days. There is no restitution in this case, Judge, and I believe that if he's placed on probation, it'll make it a little more complicated given the situation. I wouldn't want him to get revoked for something that he did not do, Judge, while on probation. But we'll leave it to the court, Judge.
Well, and Judge, the problem is that this is not his first offense of this kind. He does have a prior offense of the same kind. And if one reads the reports, they were alcohol-induced episodes, or happened while he was under the influence of alcohol. So the state believes that outpatient sex offender program and alcohol classes would best benefit this defendant.
And who's going to pay for the sign language interpreter to get that done? What, is it coming out of the DA's budget?
Well, that wouldn't be my under my purview.
I'm just trying to figure out whose budget is going to come out of. I mean, he needs an interpreter. We're paying to have a sign language interpreter just so that we can enter this plea of guilty here today. I'm trying to figure out what's in the best interest of judicial economy and what's in the best interest of the taxpayers of Hidalgo County.
Well, I mean, Judge, if you look at his priors, he's got an extensive list of priors. I mean,
I totally understand that.
We can't just let him out, and he's just going to do it again and again and again.
Find me a solution to my money problem, and then I'll listen to that.
Well, his reoffending is going to cause the same problem. He's going to come back here, and he's going to be. We're going to have to pay for our interpreters again and again and again.
I understand that. So find me a solution to that problem. I don't mind resetting this. Find me a solution. I'll reset it till Thursday.
I'll contact the outpatient sex offender program if Ms. Rodriguez can give me their phone number and see if they have ASL services.
All right. Do we know if they have anything, Ms. Rodriguez?
When someone reports to the probation department, Judge, they will get an interpreter, but I'm not sure about for the treatment services. I can check with the supervisor.
You don't, have we ever dealt with this before in this court? With probation that you've had to deal with, Ms. Rodriguez?
I don't think so, Judge.
And so the state is asking for a $250 fine, 2 years probation. 12 hours of alcohol education program. How would that alcohol education program be with an interpreter?
I mean, if they're on, he could do it online if he'd like, and I'm sure there's ones that have subtitles. Almost all videos have subtitles nowadays, thanks to Google's technologies.
Look, I'm concerned. I'm just as concerned as you are, Mr. Heller, about the fact that this is not his first time. And I don't want this to be a slap on the wrist either, because I do agree with you that if this is the same kind of behavior, then the behavior goes unrecognized, unchecked, and we're back over here again. When was the last time he had a case before our court?
Your Honor, if I may, he has done probation before. He successfully completed 3 years deferred adjudication in 2008 to 2011. So he has shown the ability to perform probation.
Judge, I believe our concern are just the classes that he's required to do. I don't want for him to be stuck in a situation where he can't do them because there's no interpreter, and then he gets revoked because of that, Judge.
I know that we can work with that. So the court will go ahead and assess assess probation. Now, Mr. Heller is going to get creative here in the next couple of days. I'm going to sign off on this judgment, but it's his job to figure out how the county is going to pay for it. And if
Judge, would the court consider 1 year probation, Judge?
Yes, the court will consider 1 year probation.
Judge, something else we could do is put him on, 6 months of mobile alcohol monitoring in lieu of the alcohol classes.
Judge, that's going to be a lot more expensive than the alcohol class itself.
I don't disagree. I'm just trying to get creative here.
I need creativity on how we're gonna get interpreters to offer services to someone who's deaf and mute and not cost the taxpayers any extra funds, extra money. But I agree, we cannot continue to just, slap a wrist and think that this behavior is acceptable, because it's not. But I also don't want the taxpayers to feel like they're having to pay an exorbitant amount of money. But if I just time serve it with, zero fine, zero court costs, we didn't accomplish very much, so. So while I agree with the state, it's their job to figure out how we're gonna go ahead and pay for this.
What do you think, Judge?
I am gonna waive the community service hours.
Judge, would the court consider waiving the fine and court costs for the time that he served?
Yes, the court will go ahead and waive those. Okay, so fine and court costs will be waived. Can you waive those for me? All right, that'll be the judgment of the court. It'll be a zero fine, zero court cost. And the probation will be reduced down to 1 year. The rest of the recommendation I will follow. Now, herein lies our second issue. How do we communicate, and how does Mr. Cantu get in contact with probation? How do we contact him? Mr. Heller, how do you suggest we do that? Rodriguez, how do you suggest we do that?
I think Judge giving the attorney the phone number for him to contact probation, and then just let them know that he needs the services of an interpreter.
How about he show up to probation as opposed to we call him? He now needs to show up in person, and then probation needs to figure out how to communicate with him.
He can do that. The only thing is we do need to set up the interpreter to show up at the same time.
Again, these are all things that are way beyond our control. We can try to punish because we punish, but I have to look at it from a perspective that's way beyond the sense of punishment. Do I think he needs to be punished? Yes. Is this going to be the end all? Well, for Mr. Heller and Mr. Chavana, chances are they're just not going to give this a second thought, and it's going to be done and processed. And everybody else is going to have to deal with this case. But I understand why, and I understand that it needs to be dealt with. So let's figure it out, and let's go forward from there.
Your Honor,
I'm gonna try to go ahead.
he did plead to probation last October, so there must be some mechanisms in place that occurred at that point.
Let's find out who his probation officer was, and let's figure out what that probation officer, maybe we can assign the same probation officer to that person. Or to this Mr. Cantu, the same probation officer.
We'll get in touch with him, Judge, but we do need a phone number where we can reach him, and then that way they'll set all that up.
All right, Mr. Cantu, do you have any way of communicating, phone or text, anything like that?
Oops, sorry. You have phone or text. Oh, yeah, I have a video phone. So yes, I have a number where you can contact me. Yes.
All right, and what is that number?
956-286-8255. Okay, his hand went below the scale. 956, I got that. 956, yes. 286 3065.
3065.
Yes, 3065.
Thank you. And
And I'll let you know that I wanted to ask a question, please. Can I ask the judge a question?
Sure.
That if once I get out, about you said no community service?
No community service. Those were waived.
Oh, okay. So what services then? It's only for the classes, right?
Correct.
And suppose the time served, is that the reason that you reduced it?
I waived the community service hours for the time that you have spent in the county jail. But this is not a time served recommendation or a judgment. It is a probation judgment for 1 year. Do you have any other questions?
For 1 year, okay.
Yes, 1 year.
Judge, does he read and write?
For 1 year, yes, okay.
All right, Mr. Cantu, do you read and or write?
He's saying if I find jail, if I stay in jail, then there's no probation? How long would I have to stay in jail before I could get out?
At this point, Mr. Cantu, that's not an option for the court because we need to, number one, clear the jail. And number two, this is a case where you should be out on community supervision. So unfortunately, at this point, you only have 15
All right,
days and
okay, that's fine.
yes.
I can read and write a little bit English, not real good.
All right, thank you so much. Okay. All right, anything else in this case?
Nothing else, Judge. I'm going to staff it with Melissa and probably Mike Garza to see what we can do.
Yes, please, and let us know so that we can know for future reference because this might come up again.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Salinas, and I'm sorry for the interpreter, Ms. Linan, thank you so much, and you are excused as well.
Thank you, Judge. May I be excused as well?
Yes, you may.
Just for the state and the court, I mean, if he can read and write, maybe the court could entertain reporting by mail, something like that. I mean, I know his case is exceptional, but I'm sure you guys will work it out. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. Let's see who his prior probation officer was and how they were able to work through that.
So Judge, I called one of our supervisors a few minutes ago and he told me that our department pays for the interpreter services each time.
Okay, well, there you go. Probation, it comes out of probation's funds.
So they'll offer it for the treatment as well.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Salinas, what is the status with your communication with Mr. Espinosa? We got to the point where he was pleading guilty and then
He got nervous, Judge. He told me he was just nervous, but he had a $3,000 PR bond. He NISID. He has an ICE hold, and he came into this country illegally, so he's aware of the immigration consequences of this case and his plea, Judge. So and it doesn't look like it's going to affect him because of the status, Judge. He came into this country without inspection.
okay, so let me go back and Carlos, can you ask Mr. Espinosa again to the offense of assault causing bodily injury, a class A misdemeanor? How does he plead, guilty or not guilty?
Señor Espinosa, la ofensa de agresión, un delito menor clase A, ¿usted cómo se declara esta ofensa?
Culpable.
Guilty.
And are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily, sir?
¿Está declarando culpable voluntariamente, señor?
Sí, señor.
Yes, sir.
Court's going to go ahead and accept your plea as being freely and voluntarily given. I'll call for state's evidence at this time.
It offers plea documents and office reports as State's Exhibit 1, notification and certification of defendant's right of appeal as State's Exhibit 2, waiver of Article 39.14 disclosures as State's Exhibit 3, waiver of risk and needs assessment as State's Exhibit 4. State would also request defense counsel stipulate to venue and jurisdiction of this honorable court and further stipulate that all evidence that has been e-filed is sufficient to corroborate the plea of guilty.
No objections to State's Exhibits 1 through 4. We agree and stipulate to venue and jurisdiction, and we further stipulate that the evidence that was e-filed is sufficient to corroborate the defendant's plea of guilty.
There being no objection, State's exhibits are hereby admitted in CR 18-13-362H, State of Texas versus Ivan Espinosa. It is a judgment of the court that you're guilty as charged. What is the recommendation?
The recommendation is a $250 fine, court costs, 1 year Hidalgo County Jail, probated for 1 year, anger management classes, 40 community service hours, and restitution in the amount of $187.55 to Guillermo Obedo.
Questions or requests on behalf of your client, Mr. Salinas?
Yes, Your Honor. Just want the court to consider the defendant's ICE-hold, the amount of days that he's been in custody, the conditions at the jail, as the court mentioned earlier. We're recommending to the court a time served sentence, Your Honor. He did pick up some felonies where he also got time served. There were non-violent cases, Judge, fraudulent use of information. Because of his lack of status, I have reason to believe he may have some government, what appear to be a government ID that I think he may have tried to pass off as a legitimate government issued ID. So I think that's what landed him in trouble to begin with. So he has spent a considerable amount of time in custody, Judge.
Okay, how much time has he spent? I'm only showing 3. 17 days?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, and we still have restitution.
Yes, Judge. And he understands, I think it's 187, right, Mr. Heller?
Yes.
$187.55.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, and you said he got time served on a felony? What was a felony?
He picked up 2 felony, state jail felony charges, Your Honor. So he was booked in back in 2018 for the assault. And then while he was out on bond, he picked up 2 state jail felonies. There were fraudulent use of information. And I think it has to do something with his lack of status. And then he nigh-side on his assault case, and then he got picked up again. So, he has been in and out, of county.
Look, I have no problem. I would have had no problem theoretically giving him time served, but the restitution, I don't want the victim to be out of any restitution. What are we talking about here in terms of, are they medical bills? Are they owed to a doctor, or what's the situation here?
Oh, Your Honor, I'll let Mr. Heller.
I need to check.
That's correct, Your Honor. They are medical bills. They were provided to us by the victim.
Okay, and they haven't been paid?
That's correct.
Okay, and I guess paying $187 by any member of the family is going to be unreasonable. I mean, if I reset this for sentencing on Thursday and they come up with a $187.55, I wouldn't mind giving him time served. Mr. Salinas?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know if the financial situation is with Mr. Espinosa, Your Honor. I mean, his.
Let me have Carlos ask him. Carlos, if you were to ask Mr. Espinosa or ask Mr. Espinosa, how long would it take him to come up with $187.55?
Señor Espinosa, ¿qué tanto tiempo necesitaría usted para conseguir $187?
¿Qué tanto tiempo?
Sí.
Yo tengo dinero ahí en mi comisario.
I have money there in the commissary.
And most likely, Your Honor, he's going to be deported soon after this. So his ability to comply.
Any medical bill that's $187, what are we talking about here? I mean, doctors are going to charge, they won't even charge $187 to see a patient.
It was the copays, Your Honor. The insurance covered the rest of it. He gave us about 3 or 4 bills. They're all copays. One is for $52.55. That's for the CT scan. That was his copay for a CT scan. He had $100 from Rio Grande Regional Hospital for, I'm not sure what this is for. And then he had $35 from Schumacher Clinical Partners. That's probably some sort of like lab results, lab tests. So he did have to go to the hospital and undergo, some tests, a CT scan, those kind of things, because of the assault, Your Honor.
All right, let me do this. It'll be a zero fine, zero court cost. I'm gonna do 6 months credit for 100, credit for 6 months, so it'll be 6 month probation. Anger management, and I'm gonna waive the CSR hours and restitution in the amount of 187.55. Guillermo video will be ordered.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, no, it's six months, 180 over 6 months. So it's 180 over 180.
Would Your Honor consider letting the defendant report by mail, Your Honor? Because I have a very strong spider sense that he's going to be deported soon after this. So his ability to, come back into our country may be challenging, quite challenging for somebody.
We have a strong spider sense. He'll be back in about a couple of months. He seems to get out and come back pretty often.
Well, I mean, the only thing that we know for sure, Your Honor, is that he will be deported. His ability to come back is speculative at best.
And my concern is the reimbursement of 187.55 to the victim. That's what I care about. If he were to pay that, I would terminate his probation early. So if he gets out and he's able to pay the 187.55, he can get early terminated.
Exactly, Judge. And so I'm not contesting the probated sentence. I'm just trying to avoid the state filing any revocation on him, because I mean, we see the writing on the wall. I mean, he's going to be deported, Judge.
Yeah, but if they catch him back over here in the United States, obviously he's violating the condition. So look, we're going to leave it like that. If he's able to pay, then bring it before the court and we can early terminate.
Sure, Judge.
All right, that'll be the judge of the court. We do need a phone number.
Señor Espinosa,
Even have
el fiscal está recomendando una libertad condicional por 1 año, una multa de $250, los costos de corte, que atiende a clases para el genio, 40 horas de servicio a la comunidad y que pague los $187 de los daños. Lo que está haciendo el juez, le está quitando la multa y costos de corte y los horas de servicio de comunidad y le está rebajando la libertad condicional a 6 meses. Y si no cumples con esos 6 meses, está viendo 6 meses de cárcel. Que atendas las clases de genio y la restitución de 187.55 centavos. Y necesitamos un número de teléfono por usted, señor.
Ok.
¿Tiene un número de teléfono?
438-6751.
¿Es área 956?
Sí, 956.
956-438-6751.
Thank you. Just let them know the intake department will call in about 5 business days.
Alguien de la oficina de libertad condicional se va a comunicar con usted en estos próximos 5 días, señor.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Salinas, and that takes care of our.
There was one other case. I think it was Irvin Morales, Your Honor.
Morales.
Irvin Morales.
I don't have him on my docket. Oh yeah, Irvin Morales. Yes. Is Irvin Morales, is he logged on? If you're on mute, please unmute yourself. Irvin Morales. Irvin Morales? Have you heard from him, Mr. Salinas?
Unfortunately, Your Honor, no, I have not. I've made diligent efforts to try and get a hold of him with the information that we have, to no avail.
All right. What says the state?
Sir, Christian, that's a granted keep position in bonds for the state of Texas.
Judgment nice shall be granted. KPS issue bond forfeited to the state for the arrest of Irvin Morales. Salinas, thank you so much for giving us that report.
Thank you, Judge. I'll see you this Thursday, Your Honor.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, number 27, Humberto Peña Salazar, Mr. Ramos. That was going to be a plea. However, unfortunately, I can't take that plea right now. Well, that's why I actually did 2 pleas. I did one set of pleas and then I did an interpreter plea. But I have Judge Jay here and I have some attorneys here that need to visit with me. I can reset this one for Thursday.
That's fine with us, Judge.
All right, let me go ahead and set it up for Thursday, which is the 31st, 3/31/22 at 2 o'clock. So please make sure you log on right at 2 so I can take up those pleas.
Will do. And give Judge Jay my regards.
I will. All right, thank you guys.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
That takes care of our docket. Court's gonna log off.